In this section, we are going to discuss the inventories. What is inventory? Which format can be stored? The inventory files, difference between static and dynamic inventories, variables inside of inventories, and popular option for dynamic inventory. So what is the inventory? Inventories is the list of hosts. Inventory can be located in different locations. For example, default location is Etsy Ansible hosts. Also, it's possible to specify a location to the inventory using flag I in Ansible playbook or Ansible command and pass to the file name, or inventory location can be specified in ansible.cfg file. Also, inventory can be stored as directory which contains series of inventory files, and this directory can contain as static and as dynamic inventory. So it's useful when you need to combine like these two type of inventory. And inventory can be stored in YAML or any format, and it can be static or dynamic. So let's talk about formats. And there is two possible formats, and you can see example of these two formats. First one is ini, and first host one.example.com. It's ungrouped host, and it can be called from Ansible like using all, or using ungrouped hosts, or using directly the host name. And web servers is host group which contain two group called which contain two hosts called Tomcat1 and Tomcat2. And web server vars, it's var variables related to the web server hosts. And on the right side, there is the same inventory, but stored in the YAML format. But most of the time, ini format is used. So all YAML inventories should start from all, specified by hosts, and in this section can be defined ungrouped hosts. And section children can contain different group of hosts, and here there is the group web server similar to the ini format, which contain two Tomcat hosts and variables related to these hosts. And what's the difference between static and dynamic inventory? Static can be in format ini or YAML, but dynamic it should be executable. It can be Bash script, Python script, or any other binary. And static inventory is maintained manually, so each time when you add new hosts to your infrastructure, it should be added manually to the inventory file. And dynamic return JSON with inventory information, so it should automatically allocate all new hosts which added to the infrastructure. And with static, it's easy to manage static small infrastructure when something changed not very often, but dynamic good for resources that suddenly change. It's good for example, for the cloud environment where IP addresses or other host information can be changed very often. And like this is the example of a static inventory and variables related to this inventory. Like this is a file named inventory which contain group name Tomcat with two hosts Tomcat1 and Tomcat2. And this is the directory structure. Oh, it's not very good to, it's not the best practice to store the variables inside of the inventory, so it's much better to store it into folders called group vars and or host vars. Group vars is variables related to groups. Currently in group folder there is a Tomcat folder, and all variables from this folder will be available for all Tomcat hosts. In host vars, there is variable splitted by each host. So if some variables is added to tomcat1.example.com, these variables will be available only for tomcat1.example.com.